Alright, I told myself I was going to give people time to come on through. Giving you guys the whole day to figure this out. Y'all know my schedule. Every 2 weeks, I pop up, you guys show up, and I do this. Wasn't always like that, but you know what I'm saying. So here we are once again. Let me turn down the volume on my end. I actually got it down on your end. Hopefully the audio is doing just fine. Hopefully the music is not overplaying my voice. So this is gonna be a busy weekend. It's right after I'm done with this, little midnight miniature golf action. There's a gathering just down the street at one of our village centers. There's a miniature golf course that is that pretty much is part of the company I used to work for, Columbia Association. So they have a little adult gathering going on. So I'm gonna go through there after I'm done here. And then the weekend does not stop there. So tomorrow, opposite direction, further down the street, is going to be Hops and Harvest Festival at the Meriwether Pavilion here in Columbia, Maryland. That's going to be going on from 12 to 5 p.m. Beers, fun, lots of people. So I already bought my tickets. Ticket, because it's just me. But I'll probably run into some of the people, some friends and stuff like that around here. Whatever the case may be. And then, unfortunately, even though I can't play, I'm going to support my team Sunday morning. I forgot what time they play. I think it's like 10 o'clock in the morning. But I'm going to go and support my teammates as they continue the season on without me. As I heal up from this injury to my left knee. So, as of right now, don't know exactly what's going on there. From the looks of it, it's worse than what I previously thought, and it's still bothering me. So the healing process has been kind of slow. Had a setback last week, and I already seen the doctors. Supposed to do physical therapy, but we'll see. All right, so enough about me. Let's get this show on the road. I think we've waited long enough. So welcome to another episode of What the Fuck Just Happened. This is episode 35. Like I said, my scheduling, the way it works, every 2 weeks or every other week, come on here and I talk about some things. And we got some things to talk about tonight. Definitely do. And before I go there, you guys can find me on Twitter. It's DJ81. You can go to my site, dj81.org, where I post articles. I also do the video portion of this podcast through playlist link on there as well. Tonight we're going to be behind the camera, so it's going to be nothing. You're not going to see my face. It's just going to be behind the camera. I think for reasons I just want to relax tonight as I talk about this, because it's gonna be a doozy. All right, so and then if you are supporting the show in any way, and that's of your own free will, feel free to donate to my pen pal and my I swear, I was just thinking about it just a second ago, and then all of a sudden when I go to think about the other avenue that you guys could help me out at. Not help me out, but donate if you so choose. But you can donate to, let's see, you can send donations or whatever to support at PayPal at evo325 at gmail.com. And I think it's Veil, something like that. I think that's the other one. And it's the same email address. So other than that, why are we here? Or why am I here again? And like I said, I got a few things. So what we're going to be looking at tonight, we're going to be looking at people's usage of Twitter Spaces, because apparently people are just using it for any other reason, for any old reason, and it's kind of getting out of hand. So, and then the whole theme of the show, mind your fucking business. Vaccination statuses. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. And a little local thing for folks here in Maryland. We just had a change in the high school football structure as far as the playoff format. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit, share my thoughts. Basically share my thoughts on all three subjects. Not gonna really go into details as far as, evidence and stuff like that. You're probably not going to see any well, you're definitely not going to see any articles. You're just going to hear my pure opinion on these options. So these topics, I mean. So first things first, let's talk about these Twitter Spaces. So I guess when Twitter gave us the green light to use these spaces as a gathering place to talk about topics, to be in different communities, form different communities, I'm sure they were coming from a good place and were thinking that people were going to use these spaces in the best form possible. Honestly, I think for the most part, that's been the case. I've seen good discussions happen in these Twitter spaces, and I've even hosted a couple of Twitter spaces myself. Now, unfortunately, the last one I hosted, I was told that maybe I need to refine it a little bit. And it's not unfortunate, it's feedback. So, definitely there's room for improvement there. But the other Twitter spaces that I've listened to, and mainly been in the gaming community, in a particular part of the gaming community in general, has been really kind of up and down as far as, how toxic it can get. Not to me. I look at everything on Twitter. I look at a lot of stuff on YouTube, even on Facebook, as just sheer entertainment. And it's been quite entertaining to me, but things tend to go left in some of these spaces, and especially when people are doing console warring. Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, this game, this company. God forbid if there was a Twitter space about Madden, all hell would break loose. But I think the last Twitter space that I joined in just to listen was done by, wasn't hosted. Nah, I would say it was kind of hosted and co-hosted. They can, if they hear this podcast, they can correct me if I'm wrong, but it was done by Optimus Code, and there was another person, I can't remember their name at the moment, but the title of it was racism in the Xbox community. And just to give a background on Code, this man trolls hard when it comes to these console wars. I see these Twitter spaces open up that he'll be a part of, either listening, hosting, or whatever, and nothing but fuckery. Well, mostly fuckery. I wouldn't even say mostly fuckery. I would just say just entertainment, just pure entertainment. Like, good topics come out of it, good discussion comes out of it. Sometimes it goes left, like I was saying earlier. So that last one with the Xbox, the racism in the Xbox community, some folks took it the wrong way. And of course, you think about the title, somebody could take it and twist it and think that you're just trying to throw shots at the Xbox community. But in that discussion, it was clarified that it's more or less, okay, there's racism, there's sexism, there's all these type of isms in any community that gets formed. It's just, the title is there to discuss specifically Microsoft, not necessarily Microsoft, but just Xbox community and discussing what's underneath, the under the rug type stuff. And again, some people came on, just looked at the title and got pissed off, and things went left and accusations were made. But
love is an incredible thing, and we don't know love like we should.
I had to listen to that last part. A lyric on here. I don't know if you heard that one, but these Twitter spaces, the way that they're being used, I don't like the fact that they're being used in a trolling fashion. I don't like the way they're being used in a console warring fashion. I don't like how they're a counter Twitter spaces. I just don't. I don't jump into every Twitter space. So I don't know exactly everything that's said in these things, but I know this much. I made a pledge to everyone. The next Twitter space I hosted, I would make sure it's on lock. Like, everything's locked down. The moment it even starts to go left, somebody's getting muted and booted. That's the way I'm looking at it. The Twitter spaces that I hosted was over a couple of comments from a couple of devs that were a bit out of pocket. I'm not walking back from that one. It was two out of pocket comments that were made on Twitter, and got people together to discuss it. So I think overall, and like I said, I just wanted to keep this short on Twitter Spaces because this is gonna go on, and eventually they're gonna start having, like, people are already recording these Twitter Spaces. I already see BG and Code uploading the recording for their channels. So I think there's an embedded recording system coming for Twitter Spaces. So all I'm gonna say is, anybody, when that pops up, and again, people are already recording these Twitter spaces, so I'm not saying watch your mouth, but at the same time, if you don't want to be out here slipping in these Twitter spaces and acting crazy, and you know what the media tends to do with people who say stuff at length, they cut it and they make it look like what it really isn't. So, but overall, I just think the Twitter spaces, I know I'm probably not going to listen to a whole lot more that pop up, because they seem to pop up like 3, 4, 5 times a day. I'm like, if 8 of them pop up every hour, you pretty much get a full workday full of Twitter spaces. So it is what it is. So we're gonna move on to the next subject. Again, we're moving along at a brisk pace. Figure a lot of people are gonna listen to this on the back end, not so much live. So that's cool. That's mostly primary what I'm doing it for. But if you are here in the chat, and if you are there, then just speak. I don't bite. Pretty friendly, even though the theme of this episode is mind your fucking business, but there's a reason for that, and we're gonna get to that. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw out the local flavor of the topics. Talk about the let's see, make sure I get this right. The acronym's MPSSAA. So if I remember correctly, it's Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. So this past week, they expanded their designations for their divisions currently in the high school football ball sports category. As it currently previously stood, you had 4 classifications. You had 4A, 3A, 2A, and 1A. So they basically added 2 more classifications, and they're kind of like a mixed bag at the top tier of 4A and 2A. So now instead of just 1A, 2A, 3A, and 4A, you have 4A, then 4A slash 3A, then you have 3A, and then you have 2A, you have 2A, and then you have 2A slash 1A, and then there's 1A. So now there are 6 divisions. So there's possibly, I think, and they approved it that it's effective as of today, or as of when they approved it, that there will possibly be 6 state champions crowned for the first time here in the state of Maryland. On top of that, all high schools that participate in the football season are eligible for the playoffs, regardless of their record. And I feel some way about that. I think it has a larger implication than just giving everybody the opportunity. And the reason why they're doing that is because of what COVID did to the fall season. Here in Howard County, they moved it to the spring to try to give the seniors any last gasp of playing football. And you know, it was a brief season. Literally was about 3-4 games. So they did spring football up here, but it wasn't the full season. So they are going to allow every high school team to participate in the playoffs. Currently, 64 teams was allowed into the tournament. Now it's 128. So they pretty much doubled the amount. So it's going to be a free-for-all. And the championships won't take place until December. Now, my feelings on that pretty much stem from the fact that I am old school when it comes to earning the right to play in the playoffs. Being rewarded for success, being rewarded for meeting the standard, for being able to participate in the playoffs. Now, I understand, again, they're doing this because of seasons last year and earlier in the spring being wrecked by COVID and the pandemic, and I get that. But the article that I read at the end, it talked about the fact that they may discuss this as a permanent thing, making it in line for a lot of other sports. Because even when I was in high school, our field hockey team won our state title, and they were eligible for the playoffs despite not winning any games. I thought that was kind of, I'm like, I get it. It happened with our baseball team maybe 10 years ago. But I don't like the idea. If this were like a normal situation and this is going on, I don't like the idea of not earning a spot in the playoffs. I'm like, you play as many games as each sport allows to get to a point where you earn the right to play in the playoffs. Just because you participated in the sport doesn't mean you should make the playoffs. But that's me. I'm not in the participation trophy crowd that has been growing for the last couple of decades. But like I said, this expansion has a base in the pandemic. So I get it for the initial use, but anything after this year, it shouldn't stick. I believe keep it to where it is. I like the expansion of the classifications. I'll do that because it gives you more champions, kind of putting it in line with other states. You got states with 6, 7, 8 state champions because their classifications and based on their populations are higher than what they are here in Maryland. And there are definitely more schools here in Maryland, and the population is definitely higher than what it was 10, 20 years ago. So I do believe the 4A, the 4 classifications, they needed to expand it. Obviously, they weren't going to go 5A, 6A, whatever. But as far as every team making the playoffs, nah, that's okay. This year, yes. Next year and permanently for football, nah, not with that. And some people did agree with me. I did see an opponent of mine in this fall league that I play in. He posted it. He actually he's one of the coaches on a local high school team here. So I didn't want to say which one because I'm not name dropping anybody that could possibly ruin their. But anyway, and it wouldn't ruin it because I'm like, you post an article, and it basically just told everybody that this expansion was happening. So there's nothing bad coming from it. It's just my thoughts on it. If it goes beyond its original intention, then yeah, we're getting a little too much here. So, all right. So I figured I saved this part for last, and this is the main reason why the show is named, or not. What the fuck just happened? That's the name of the show, but why this episode is themed "Mind Your Fucking Business." And also, I'm gonna introduce a segment and this will also introduce a segment that I wanted to bring in because I had a thought the other day that you ever have something happen, somebody say something, somebody do something, and they have no business doing that, they have no business saying that, and they're doing a little too much, and your reaction is like, don't do that. Don't do that. I feel like that's happened in the last week or so, and it's enough to get me to bring a segment that was like things that make you say, don't do that. And this topic of vaccination statuses is fitting because people are doing way too much. People are asking too many questions, way too many questions, personal questions. There's nothing wrong with asking a lot of questions. It's just the type of questions getting a little overboard. People asking for everyone's vaccination statuses is just out of hand. I'm sitting there on Twitter and I'm reading these tweets. I'm seeing these posts of people reacting to NBA players, Bradley Beal, Draymond Green, I forgot the other dude on Orlando, particularly the dude on Orlando, and particularly Bradley Beal. These three individuals, very articulate, very intelligent, smart individuals. And the comments that I would see under these posts, like particularly the Orlando player, they actually, whoever posted his clip did him dirty. It was a don't do that type of moment, and they did that. They cut short his whole explanation just to make him sound stupid. Don't do that. And that's why there's this whole thing called fake media, because they take a comment, and I learned this a long time ago. I've been quoted in the paper before. So when I was speaking to a reporter about part of the game or stuff like that, I made sure that I just spoke on certain parts and didn't leave anything to chance that someone could twist or whatever. So none of my comments were twisted in the local paper describing plays and stuff like that. But the player from Orlando, who actually, he was involved in something where he got injured before, this was the bubble season, when they finished the 2019 season, 2019-2020 season, they finished it in the bubble, and the guy got hurt. and people got mad at him because they were doing the kneeling for the kneeling during the national anthem to spread awareness about police brutality and oppression in the United States against African Americans, people of color. This cat didn't kneel. People got mad at him. So when he got hurt, people didn't feel sorry for him. And I thought that was a situation. It was like, don't do that. Don't be like getting, happy because somebody got hurt because they didn't do the thing that you wanted them to do. Don't do that. So this guy, he speaks, and he basically just schooled everyone on why he was hesitant. And the thing was, he was asked one way about his vaccination status, and he was asked another way about his vaccination status. And if I could pull up, if I wanted, let me see if I can pull up the full quote, because I feel like you have to hear it. Either hear it or I can read it. And if anybody's watching, and if they know the name, let me know. I'm gonna just look at it real quick. So if we're gonna be silent for a second. Oh, here we go. Jonathan Isaac. Yeah, that guy. That's the guy that got hurt. He missed the whole entire season. He missed the finishing of the 2019-2020 season and all of the 2020-2021 season. So let me see if they have the whole thing here. And let me see.
Jonathan Isaac says he's not.
No, let's see. Actually, I would rather read the whole quote because that would be better. Because I don't want to do a video because then they're talking about copyright and stuff like that, and I'm not doing that. See if they got a whole quote on him. Okay. Obviously, they... Okay, so I'm going to just read this one quote that I found on here. So this is Jonathan Isaac when he was asked about, his vaccination status and whatnot. This is one of the quotes, but I think this one's a good one. It says, actually, no, it's a long... Actually, no, I'm going to read this whole thing. Because he definitely goes in on this. So... And let me see. Okay. Thank you, VF. Spreading the word. Hopefully more people show up as we're talking about the last topic of the night. Okay, so Jonathan Isaac. I'm going to start. Let's see. Yep. Start right here. It says, I am not anti-vax. I am not anti-medicine. I am not anti-science. And then he continues. I didn't come to my current stance by studying Black history or watching Donald Trump press conferences. I have nothing but the utmost respect for every healthcare worker and person in Orlando and all across the world that have worked tirelessly to keep us safe. My mom has worked in healthcare for a really long time. I thank God and I'm grateful that I live in a society where vaccines are possible. And we can protect ourselves and have the means to protect ourselves. But with that being said, it is my belief that vaccine statuses of every person should be their own choice. Completely up to them without bullying, without being pressured, without being forced into doing so. I'm not ashamed to say that I'm uncomfortable with taking the vaccine, that I'm not ashamed to say that I'm uncomfortable with taking the vaccine at this time. We're all different. We all come from different places. We've all had different experiences and hold dear to different beliefs. And what it is you do with your body when it comes to putting medicine in there should be your choice, free of ridicule and the opinion of others. And I agree. And y'all need to mind y'all fucking business. Because y'all tried to do that shit with Bill. And the man's just asking questions. He was like, look, from the questions he was asking, it seemed like he was like, whoa, why don't they find something that could cure it, that could get rid of it, something that could. No, that wasn't Kyrie. That was Jonathan Isaac that said that. You know, and I forgot about Kyrie. He definitely was in the mind your own fucking business type of mood. And a lot of these players are at that point, because instead of, and I'm sure the rest of the press conference was about the upcoming season and stuff like that, but people literally, like, for the beginning of the football season, people was like, I wonder if that person was vaccinated. I wonder if that person was vaccinated. I wonder if that person is vaccinated. Is it that serious? And then one thing that Jonathan Isaac did mention, and let me go back to it. He mentioned this because some of y'all are full of shit as far as how all of a sudden you guys feel that bullying is okay. Probably the same people that when there was an anti-bullying campaign that y'all were behind when Trump was in office. And I'm not a Trump supporter. I hate the guy. I wish he would fall off a cliff. But it's one of those things that you can't just put aside a campaign that I was all for. I was all for anti-bullying and stuff like that. You can't just put it aside because it now serves your purpose to bully others into something that they don't want to do or they're hesitant to do. And then it also becomes the bullying and the pressuring. All of a sudden, you get people that just like, they're defiant, just outright defiant, because you're pressuring them to do something that they don't want to do. I'm like, hell, us African Americans didn't want to work for free, but y'all forced us to do that. It served our purpose at that point. And then when it no longer served our purpose, all of a sudden Abraham Lincoln, Emancipation Proclamation, but then it served our purpose to force us to live separately. All right, so Bills, he says, it's funny because I said this months ago in a very comment section with the Gina Carano thing. It is true. It's funny. Let's go back to Gina Carano, because her quote her example, not her quote, the example that she used pretty much is playing out. Because your neighbor is being turned against you. Because you're either... no, it's not even... They're not turned against you because of two statuses. They're turned against you because of one. And they're using that status to blame you for why no one can go back to living a normal life. Well, I got news for everybody. It's a new flu. It's a stronger, new type of flu, but it also changes things just like 9/11 did. It changes things. Things can't go back to the way it used to be. It's not because of unvaccinated people. It's because we didn't do enough to keep our numbers low and our deaths low before we even got a vaccine in place. You know who's to blame for that? The government. And it really doesn't matter who the president was. Obviously, Trump was reckless in how he handled everything. He downplayed everything. You know, said that things would disappear by, you know, that his whole presidency to me was a don't do that type of situation. But he said what he said, and I was like, don't do that. No, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. But fast forward to where we are right now, where all of a sudden we've tossed aside an anti-bullying campaign to do what? Bully people into taking something that they have more questions for. They're not comfortable in taking it. I mean, rape is illegal, is it not? Symbolically, forcing people to take a medicine they don't want to take is a form of rape, and I will use that language in describing it such because you're forcing somebody to do something against their own free will. We don't like it when it happens to women. It shouldn't happen to anybody else for any other reason in any other situation. Bills says, trust the facts, get the vax. And yeah, and leading the charge in this whole messaging, President Biden. Thank God I haven't voted for neither one of these parties for the last, 8 years. Because after 2016, I could see where all this was going. This was going left or right, or whatever you want to say. This was just going to hell in a breadbasket real quick. You know, you got... And like... And then obviously the main people that are out here bullying other people are vaccinated folks. And the very thing that you're bullying over is the very thing that, you know, you can still catch COVID, you can still transmit it, you can still, and even if you're vaccinated, it still depends on your activity level. How much involved you are in society. A person who's vaccinated, let's break this down. I said I wasn't going into details, but I'm there. A person who's vaccinated versus an unvaccinated person. A person who's vaccinated that is constantly going to parties unmasked has as much as a chance to catch COVID and transmit it as somebody who's unvaccinated and stays in the house all day. You didn't think I was gonna pull that one out. It's funny how that actually tells both sides of the story. It's not that example is not for vaccinations. That message is not against vaccinations. It points you to a view that it depends on the individual. There are side effects. Small chances of side effects. I experienced a bunch of those in my own experience. Others may not experience it. My whole point is people need to tell the whole story when it comes to, you know, vaccines and people. And as far, just to go back to the specific nature of this topic, mind your fucking business about these people's vaccination status. This is none of your goddamn business. I'm like, what if I just walked up to a random person and be like, hey, you got an STD? I'm sure you wouldn't want to reveal that. Like, hey, who did you vote for? That used to be a thing that people didn't want to outwardly tell people, but all of a sudden it became about, oh, who'd you vote for? Oh, you voted for so and so? Oh, I can't be your friend anymore. Don't do that. Don't be that person. And there are too many people doing that. Like I saw on Twitter over these NBA players. All of a sudden they don't like them because they're not vaccinated. You don't even know, they didn't even confirm or deny that they were vaccinated. They just said their status is none of your goddamn business. That's all they said. And people out here just doing too goddamn much. Yep, that's another one. How much you make per year? They would hate that. That happens on dates. Mind your fucking business how much money I make. Focus on this this steak that we're eating tonight. You weren't worried about how much that cost now, did you? You're eating it, that's all that matters. The Bills is like, well, that doesn't affect you. But wait, it does. I pay taxes. I want to know you're paying your share. Oh, boy. That's why I'm like, people who think they understand how big this country is and how different sections of this nation lives differently than others. Everybody's under the impression that we're all under the same realm here. Whether you live in the city, you're in the country, you're in the north, south, you're in the east, west, if you're landlocked in the Midwest, and if you're on the coast, if you're on the island. These are all different places. These are all different factors. People's activity levels are all different factors. But again, mind your fucking business about these players and also other people's vaccination statuses. None of your goddamn business. It's like the saying about the government always, taxing people. Get your hand out my motherfucking pocket. We used to say that about the government as far as taxes was concerned. Stay your ass out of my medical business. And none of this is requiring me to even think about HIPAA. Because you don't have to use HIPAA to tell somebody to mind their fucking business. And I'm definitely not for a lot of these mandates. The fact that millions of people are going to be fired because they're not going to take the vaccine. Something that just was created within the last year. You're forcing people to take something that was just created within the last year at a rate faster than it ever has before. That's one thing Trump was right about. This was done a lot faster than it was before. We have data on this. You can go to cdc.gov. You can go to all the public health places that talk about COVID and stuff like that. Because I know for sure after this is over, this video is going to get one of those COVID-19 labels. I don't care. They need to. YouTube needs to mind their fucking business too. Shoot, a lot of people mind their business, but I don't like the fact that people are about to be fired. Good people, regular people, fired because something that just popped up within the last year is gonna force them to make a decision whether they want to take something that they really are not comfortable with, but are being forced on one side and being bullied on the back end by co-workers, friends, family, strangers, to take something that they're not comfortable with. It's just insane. It's just too insane. People are just doing too much. Don't be that person. Don't be those people. Don't be that society that turns into a Nazi Germany type situation. A situation where you get scapegoated just because you weren't comfortable with a choice. You made a choice based on your comfort level, which everyone took the vaccine not because of others. They took the vaccine because of themselves. But these are the same people that call others selfish if they don't take it. Well, I look at it like this. I'm okay with instituting masks. I'm definitely okay with social distancing. People should learn to be cautious. Even while you're vaccinated, should learn to be cautious. Mind your own business. Don't worry about other people's statuses. Don't worry about what decisions they make. It's none of your goddamn business. At the end of the day, it is none of your goddamn business. Stay the fuck up out my medical records. Not even talking about HIPAA. Don't care. Don't need to quote HIPAA. Just the inflection in my voice. Mind your fucking business. Stay out of my business. Worry about your own business. Because I'm sure the decision you made didn't affect me either. Oh, it did affect me. Because the fact that majority of people took it, now I gotta be forced to take it. Yeah, you think about that one now, did you? Sometimes the situation has to be flipped. They blame unvaccinated people because they march his dead ass out there, and he literally says this is the pandemic of the unvaccinated. Literally blamed your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, your sons, your daughters, your aunts and uncles, your grandparents, blamed any of them that didn't get the vaccine, blaming them for why no one can live a normal life. President Biden needs to mind his own fucking business and worry about his presidency collapsing as we speak. Because Lord knows Trump is just waiting around the corner like, oh, I'll take advantage of another situation where a person will become not liked and win that one, and then we'll be in hell again for 4 more years. For a grand total of 4 years of Trump, in the middle 4 years of Biden, and then 4 more years of Trump. Nobody wants. Apparently, what was it? Apparently, 150 million people wanted this shit. No matter which one won, 150 million people wanted this shit, and that's upsetting. Don't do that. There's always option C. There's always another way. But at the end of the day, mind your fucking business. I hope there's a counter that lets everybody know how many times I've had to say that. Because I'm probably saying it for all the people that have been asked that question about your vaccination status. Who the fuck are you? Mind your fucking business. And on that note, we're going to wrap it up for tonight. So I thank Bills for showing up tonight. And he said he was going to be here. So, thank you for the support. And for anyone listening, yes, that last topic, it hits a little bit personal. And whether you know my vaccination status or not, it's still none of your fucking business. Whether you agree with me or you disagree with me. One thing that needs to happen is that people need to stay out of folks' way, let them make their own decisions, because folks are better suited when they make decisions based on their experiences, not others. It's not about empathy, it's about common fucking courtesy. And y'all are just doing way too much. Like I said, mind your fucking business. And on that note, you guys have a good night. And I'm going to try to enjoy myself at this midnight miniature golf course. I'm not going to ride there on time because, I'm African American. I always got to show up late. Got to live up to stereotype, especially in Colombia where everyone's mixed. Anyway, you guys have a good night. Again, you can find me on Twitter, DJ81. You can find me on my website, dj81.org. I post articles. I posted one recently. I'm going to try to post an article every other week to coincide with when I'm not doing a podcast. And I'll probably send a link out if you want to join the Discord. And that, you guys have a good night. Peace. Episode 35 in the books. Mind your fucking business.